You know, there's a deep philosophical battle raging inside our phones. It's happening right now, and it's the key to understanding why we're all so vulnerable to digital manipulation. This isn't really a story about tech, though. It's a fight for the nature of our own will.
We've all been there, right? Scrolling late at night, and you ask yourself, why can't I look away? I know what this is doing to my brain. Well, it turns out the answer lies in this clash between two philosophers who were dead long before anyone even dreamed of a computer.
Okay, so first up, we have the optimist in our story. His name is Baruch Spinoza, a philosopher from the 17th century. And he had this really powerful and honestly kind of beautiful idea about human freedom and the power of our own minds.
For Spinoza, real freedom wasn't about having no rules or limits at all. Not at all. It was about deeply understanding the system you're operating in, all the forces and pressures, and then using your reason to navigate it, instead of just being yanked around by your emotions. Basically, if you know the rules of the game, you can't be played.
And if that philosophy sounds familiar, well, it should. It's exactly what we're told to do today. I mean, think about it. Every article explaining how social media works, every one of those digital literacy programs, all those TED Talks about tech ethics, they're all selling us Spinoza's dream. They're all saying, hey, if you just understand the algorithm, you'll finally be free from its grip.
But there's a pretty powerful counterargument, and that brings us to Spinoza's philosophical opposite, a guy named Arthur Schopenhauer. He had let's say, a much darker and maybe even more realistic view of what's really in the driver's seat.
And here it is. This is the core conflict. Where Spinoza saw our rational mind mastering our passions through sheer understanding, Schopenhauer saw something he called a blind will. He described it as this relentless, primal, and totally irrational drive inside us. For him, desire is just this endless hunger, and our reason? It's pretty much powerless to stop it. So you can know the system all you want. Your inner drive just doesn't care. This quote really just gets right to the heart of it. Schopenhauer's big idea was that our fundamental nature isn't our intellect, it's this nonstop, insatiable striving force. It's not that we have desires, it's that we are desire. That's our factory setting. And that drive, that constant wanting, will almost always overpower our best attempts to be purely rational.
So you have these two totally opposite ideas about what it means to be human. But this isn't just some abstract debate from a couple of old books. This whole thing played out in a massive, real-world experiment that we all got to watch, Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter.
Just think about this timeline for a second. For years, Musk was on the outside, watching how the Twitter algorithm worked. He saw how it could amplify outrage and manipulate conversations. Then he buys the whole thing, the whole shebang. He has total control, total visibility. He was, in a way, the perfect test case for Spinoza's theory. But what happened next? Well, it was straight out of Schopenhauer's playbook. I mean, by owning the algorithm, Musk had literally achieved Spinoza's dream. Complete understanding, total control over the machine that shapes so much of our online reality. He didn't just know the rules of the game anymore, he owned the entire game board.
And yet, it didn't seem to matter. Schopenhauer's darker vision of reality seemed to win out. Because even with all that knowledge and all that control, Musk's own public behavior started to look exactly like the kind of manipulative engagement he'd wanted to fix. The drive, it turns out, was more powerful than the knowledge.
And the proof was right there for everyone to see. The owner became the platform's most perfectly optimized user. You had the late-night posting, the knee-jerk replies to critics, amplifying the most emotionally charged content. It was almost as if the algorithm had perfectly trained its new owner to become its ideal subject. And the thing to get here is that this wasn't necessarily some cynical plan. It just happened. Because the algorithm doesn't make an exception for the person who signs the checks.
Okay, so what does this epic philosophical smackdown mean for the rest of us, for our daily lives? This is where it gets really practical, because this exact same battle is happening in your pocket every single day.
Let's just break it down to the simplest possible example, a notification. This little loop is engineered with incredible precision to bypass your rational mind. The screen lights up, and your brain gets a little hit of dopamine before you can even think about it. And by the time your logical Spinozan will shows up to make a choice, your impulsive Schopenhauerian drive has already picked up the phone. Reason always arrives a little late to the party. And that right there is the core lesson from this whole experiment.
understanding how the system works is absolutely necessary. Spinoza was right about that. It lets you recognize the patterns. But, and this is a huge but, that knowledge, all by itself, is not enough to win against a system that was specifically designed to defeat it.
So, what's the solution? Are we just doomed? Well, the idea is that you have to create a synthesis. True freedom, real agency in this world seems to require both philosophies. You need Spinoza's clear-eyed understanding of the system, and you need Schopenhauer's gritty discipline, that conscious, practiced refusal to just give in.
You can think of it as will training the will. It's an active process, not a passive one. It's using your reason, your Spinoza side, to spot the trigger, to see the trap being laid for you. And then it's using your will, your Schopenhauer side, to consciously resist that primal drive to react. It's reason and resistance working together.
And this all leads us to a final, pretty unsettling question. The algorithm is trained on trillions of data points. It can predict what we desire, how we'll react, sometimes before we're even aware of it ourselves. So if it knows exactly what you'll want, and it serves it to you at the precise moment of your lowest resistance, at what point does your choice stop being your own?
Look, the algorithm doesn't have a soul. It's not alive. It isn't conscious. But after watching this whole battle between reason and drive play out on a global scale, it turns out that might not even matter. It doesn't need a soul. It just needs to know yours.